Hello everyone, this is Tony from Advanced Site. We're going to go through the design and build of a leather sheath for a Damascus hatchet. This is might be very long for some of you guys. Basically, I'm showing you kind of the design process and thinking and changing of my mind and all of those things. So here we go. So we'll start with drawing in the outline, and definitely my first sheath for a hatchet. Actually, my first hatchet too. So that's the outline. We're going to draw a little bit of space for where the welt would go, and welts are there primarily to protect the stitching, so that as you put your blade in and out of a sheath, it doesn't rub against the stitches, it rubs against that welt. So here I'm doing the side flap and the top flap, and we're gonna cut it out, see what it looks like. Let's see. Alright, well, for first blush, looks pretty good. Try to fold it. You're going to see me struggle with that side strap flap the entire time. Not convinced of the right look and feel, but we'll refine it as we go. Like I said, you're watching the sausage making of the design process. I'm going to do the other side, which will be the front face of the sheath. Again, we're going to put that same space in between, and obviously we're going to overcut all of these and final shape it with the sander when we're getting close to done. Sometimes the best part of sheath making is the artistic feel that you put into the sheath. Leather is a great medium. It's very forgiving and gives you great flexibility. So there you go, playing with the flaps again. We sew here and here. Simulate that. And not so much this last one. All right, first try. See what it looks like. Pretty good. I like it. I'll shorten that top one. Play with the flaps. A belt ring here to hang it off of. Alright, I think that's close to the design. I'm going to stop it and we'll come back. Yeah. Just playing around, fixing the template a little bit. So what I always like to do is mark the good side and the good side. Take out these final staples. See if I can squeak it out of this final piece here. Yep, it's all good. Yep, so that's good. What I like to do is actually do it from the back. To mark it on the back so that the ink doesn't end up on the good side. So I hid the cutting of the actual pieces on you guys, and we're here working on the welt, right? Very important. Welt is what helps keep everything aligned and tight in a sheath. So I'm spending a little bit of time making sure that it's an accurate welt. What you missed is me actually putting the axe over that white piece of paper and drawing the axe to get that inside shape. So here it is. I know I'm struggling getting pieces of paper, but it's chilly in my work area. But this is key to everything. So I am taking some time. So we're ready now to glue it up a little bit. I use barge contact cement, and it is good to rough up your I'm going to sand this, but rough up your pieces that are on the smooth side of the leather. This is the back. But I did remember before I do this, I need to put my maker's mark on there. Put my mark on there. I guess it's time for a new sponge. But you do want to wet the whole piece, even though I'm just doing a small spot with my mark. And bring it back in the light. Mark on the tray. And let's see, kind of want it right about there. So I went over to my scratched it up a little bit with some sandpaper. My hydraulic press, not hydraulic, just my half-ton press from Harbor Freight, and just does a much more accurate job when you're punching in. Excuse me. Pepper is marked. I like to do the welt piece first. I know I'm competing with the recorded sounds. Welcome back. We're pretty tacky dry. Let's see. This is where I do want to line this edge with the line. back now because the object is to lay this piece really even with this edge here, right? So we want to trim this back so we can actually see. I know this video is getting a little bit long, but it's just my kind of sausage making of the leather work. I know I learn a lot by watching other people, still learning as we go, and this is just my making of the sheath. So basically I'm making an accurate template so I can mark where I'm going to put glue on the other side. Alright, we're back. Be tacky now. So now the trick we do on is this edge and this edge want to be pretty close. Where did that go? Obviously, I'm being very careful not to get any glue from my fingers on the leather pieces themselves. It's just a pain to fix if you get that going. But what does work is letting that glue dry and using a white eraser and erasing it afterward. That lifts it up quite a bit. Back to waiting. We're back. Well, basically, I cleaned up the edges on this, made them nice and smooth, rounded, nice shape. Front. Let's see where we're at. Nice. See a little bit of bulging there, but we'll take care of that with some wet forming. Sure, if we're gonna straighten this out a teeny bit to get this to fold a little bit more, or do I trim part of this side out to make it come flat? So I think what we're gonna do is let's see what we got here. All right, we're gonna do a little wet forming for the leather. Gonna wrap the blade in a little bit of saran wrap, and because there is some thickness to the hatchet, and I don't want it to bind or have trouble getting in and out. So wrap that up. Gonna wet the leather inside and out, and then just form a little bit around the thicknesses of that. So it does require good soaking. You can see it's actually dripping and soaking in probably water. I've squeezed some water all the way into the inside, which is going to help with the forming. It'll all dry out. And it's good to get the inside and the outside wet. And anytime you're wetting the outside, you want to make sure you wet the entire piece. Otherwise, you're going to see stains and discoloration of your leather. So it is important. And basically, once it's wet, you just can use your fingers to squeeze the leather around the shape of the blade, or the hatchet in this case. I'm going to be forming the folds right now too at the same time. Starting to look like a sheath. So while this is drying, I'm going to bevel the edges. Generally, this is much better done when it's all dry, but just not too bad. This is not too wet. I'm actually using the Craft Tool Pro size 0 for this. Got those at Tandy Leather. They seem to work a lot better than the cheaper versions, and size 0 works pretty well for this type of stuff. So it's important to get all the inside edges and the outside edges all the way around. It'll make the burnishing process a lot easier when we're cleaning up those edges at the end. Gonna do the same thing with this piece. It's kind of dry, so we should be okay. All right. Cut out this strap. And I think I want to put it right here. Come on. Put this D-ring. I think we're going to go with the brass pin. I always like to put a backing. Make sure that's the right size. Let's see. Yeah, it should be a little more. Let's be a little more accurate. At the middle. That is. Make it straight. What we're going to do. Let's see if we can reach that. Nope. You can't get to where we want to put our holes, so we got to do something different. Get these punches. Beeswax in there, huh? All right, this is the final debate with what we do with that flap. Studying it. Let's get rid of it. Decided it just wasn't needed. There's plenty of leather and that top flap to hold it in. That was just going to be a pain in the butt every time you try to put your hatchet into the sheath to deal with that other flap. Yep. No turning back. All right, no going back. All right, just cleaning up time. It's time for dyeing. I think I'm going to go with a light brown. So I definitely keep them in these smaller bottles, but buy them in the quarts. A lot cheaper, but a lot easier to work in these smaller bottles. I'm going to take the long sleeves off, although it's pretty chilly doing this while it's about -1 outside in the basement. We keep a little bit chilly. So let's do some dyeing. I like to dye before I put hardware on, before I attach these things. So usually start on the inside or the back side when we're dyeing. This does suck up a lot of dye on the inside, but just go one pass after another until it all looks pretty smooth or consistent. It does dry considerably lighter than you see here. I am constantly darkening it and following processes with carnauba wax, and you'll see. Here we go. The dyeing process was done. Put a snap on that front piece. Attach the belt loop, and we're gonna. Now's the right time to start stitching. So we're gonna put a stitching mark, not a groove. I don't put a groove anymore with the method of sewing that I do with an awl and diamond punches that I use to kind of set the positions of the holes. There's a second groove just for kind of a border for looks. Typically I put the stitching groove halfway between the good looking groove and the edge of the knife. And obviously you want to be in the middle of the welt that you put underneath it when you're stitching. And I basically have a 4-tooth and a 2-tooth craft tool punch. They're 2mm punches that I use. By the way, that's a 2-pound maul hammer, Barry King version. Beautiful leather handle. I love it. Was using a much lighter hammer before. So we pretty much follow the line, and with this gradual curve I can get away with using the 4-tooth punch and basically giving it a tap enough to get it through probably halfway through the leather thicknesses. Right. So I'm going to start with the sewing process. Key to this is threading your needles and doing a lock on your thread so that it stays properly in place. So basically you puncture the thread and pull it back on itself. Probably not the best video for that, but can certainly do a separate video if you guys need that.
C.S. Osborne.
I do use a C.S. Osborne awl and made these 2 finger protectors to pull on the threads. So obviously not spending a lot of time showing the sewing process, so we're done here with the sewing. One of the things I do need to also do is draw a line on the back side where your stitches come out, so that as you push your awl through, you always come out on that line, so it makes the back side of the stitches very straight. So we do need to put a belt loop on that. We'll do that in the next couple minutes here. And what we're going to do right now is use some pigskin to protect and line the insides to protect against scratching the hatchet with the snaps that are in there. So we're just going to cut out a couple small squares and glue them with our barge contact cement, and that'll just protect things nice. So while this is going on, again, I'd like to, if you stayed to this part of the video, I really appreciate it. Would love your comments. I know video is not the most important thing. I think it's just showing different techniques and how we do different things is important. I know I learned from watching lots and lots of videos on how people do things, and I'm by no means an expert at this. I consider myself still a beginner, but whatever I can share and whatever I can get as positive feedback for things I'm doing in a way that can be done better, I'd love to hear that. So definitely like the videos and add some comments, say hello. But basically, I'm just marking the areas that I need to glue for those small pigskin pieces that I'm going to be putting in there. By the way, I buy my barge contact cement in a gallon jug and then pour it into this these glass containers with the built-in brush. Those work really nice. So I have these wrist bands that I had bought a while ago, very cheap on eBay, and I think I'm going to use that for my belt loop. I'm going to cut it to approximate size while the glue is waiting to be tacked. I'm just checking out to make sure that the snap works pretty well and it's pretty tight. And obviously it is. It's the right size for my wrist, but the wrong size for a belt loop, so I'm going to have to trim it down a little bit narrower to fit into the D-ring that we have. So this piece is ready to put in. Glue is tacky on both sides. I'm going to do the other piece. And then just while this is going on, just a little bit more information. I do use the Tiger thread, the Ritza 25 RITZA. I think it's made in Germany. I end up using, I started with the 1.2 millimeter, but I think I'm going to be switching to a 1 millimeter size thread. I buy it in the spools, so it's going to take a little bit before I run out of it. But they are polyester and waxed, and it's a super strong thread. So here we are doing a kind of a final test to make sure everything fits in the sheath, and here we are. Voila. Yep. I'll post some better pictures than this at the end. And I think we're good. Thank you.